Today I want to talk about solar, and I want to try to explain better because it's very technical. And when you get advice, they are technical. They know what they're talking about. I only know what I've learned in my language. And there's a lot of my viewers, particularly the new ones, who are older single women who want to do this, but they don't understand solar. Let me try to explain wattage, okay? First thing you need to do, decide how you want to cook, or if you want a refrigerator, any utensil, any not utensil, appliance that you want to use. You have to know the wattage, what it uses. Also, what it surges when it starts up. Everything, not everything, but most things surge. So the surge wattage is just as important as the usage wattage. A good example, a 700 watt, right on the box it says have 700 watt microwave. 700 watts means it's cooking your food at 700 watts. It uses 1,000 to 1,200 watts to run 700 watts to cook your food. So it's very confusing. Always look at the back of every appliance. Its actual usage of watts will be on that appliance. Underneath, on the back. It will not be in paper. It'll always be in metal or actually written. It's the law written on that appliance. So you have to check out your appliances before you decide how much solar you're going to need. What is the biggest appliance? My 1500 Blue Eddy, when they say 1500 watts, that's surge watts. That's not usage watts. Any solar, you want to look, don't let it fool you. You want to look at what the actual wattage you can use. It's because you're going to have to figure out how long that's going to last on your battery. So a microwave, 700 watt microwave, my 1500 watt Blue Eddy, that's a surge. It only has 1,000 watts. So I can't have a microwave. I bought a 700 watt microwave because I thought that's what it used. Blue Eddy wouldn't run it, but maybe a minute and a half. The reason? Because it was over the maximum wattage. The surge wattage was 1,500. So anything that surges up to 1,500 and then goes down below 1,000, it will run. But it will not run a 1,200 watt microwave that runs at 1,200 watts. So the cooking has nothing to do with it. The wattage it uses to cook with, it's the wattage it uses to run. Okay, so I know it's confusing, but that's the way it is. You just kind of have to settle it in your mind that there's two different numbers you're looking at. So I had to determine whether I could run a microwave or not, which I wanted, and I got fooled, and took me purchasing two and then returning two, and finally I never left the store. I just kept opening them up and looking at the back. The other thing is, I just told you about a EB55, which is better than my little 500 watt. I also have a Blue Eddy 500 watt, but that's surge wattage. It only runs 300 watts usage. So when it surges, it can surge up to 500 watts, but then it's got to be drop back down under 300 watts for my little one to run. I bought that before I understood. So the EB55 that I just told you about, that price is tremendous. But I also want you to understand that anything over 537 watts that runs continuously on that, you can run. it can surge up to 700 watts, usually about a minute, minute and a half, and then it cuts off if it's running at that. So it can surge. Usually things just surge for a couple of seconds or, and then they drop back down to their normal. It's the startup. When you start things up like an air conditioner, when you start it up, it's so many watts, and then it settles down to the 500 or whatever you think. So that's a little bit about your solar. So you have to figure all this out. It's not difficult. Just think about it. Be patient with yourself. If you go on, I'm on Blue Eddie's community, and I went on because I don't understand So now we've gone from that to let's talk about. Then you have to figure out your solar panels, so you can keep your solar generators charged up. Not all of them run off the car. My little one I can charge from my car battery when I'm driving, but the big one I cannot. Some of them you can, some of them you can't. But even if they say that you can, it takes forever because they're large. The little one is pretty easy off the battery. I don't ever use the battery, but I can. I experimented with it and tried it. So you have to figure out the wattage that you need to refill your generators. And that's what your panels are for. But panels talk to you about volts. And volts is how many volts can go into your generator. But more importantly, how many volts you use and how many the generator will take. So your limit, most of them will tell you, oh, this will take 200 watts. Fine, great. Many of your solar panels, the cheaper ones, you don't get the full wattage out of the panel. Don't think for a minute you're going to get 100 watts, because you're not. You'd be lucky to get 50 or 60 watts out of a cheaper panel. Why I talk about Renogy is Renogy, you get a lot of that 100 watts. You really do. You really do. So you get more out of it. It's a better panel. The best panel on the market is called SunPower, and that's an incredible panel. But I really couldn't afford it, that one. And I knew more about Renogy, and they have good service, so I've stuck with Renogy. But part of how many watts you get depends on how you put the panels together. Very complicated. The easy way to think about it is there's two ways to put your panels together. Okay? If you have more than one panel is easy. Most things need more than one, and you really want more than one because I'll explain that in a minute. I don't want to jump around and confuse you. Solar panels can be put together by parallel or series. Okay? I'm not going to tell you how to do that. I'm just going to tell you about it. So parallel means that you can park in the shade. All three panels are running on their own into a connector that connects to your generator. Sorry about that. If you park in partial shade, which I always do, this is why I put mine in series, then if one panel is in the sun, you will still get that wattage. If you put your panels in parallel, which is another whole video altogether, they all run as one. Therefore, if one is in shade, none of them will work. It's that simple. Series, each one works individually. If you have one in the shade and two in the sun, those two are giving you wattage. Parallel, if you have one panel, a corner of a panel, part of a panel, in the shade, none of them will work. You will get nothing. So parallel means you got to be in full sun all the time. Series means you can park in the shade, which I do. So I connected mine in series because I want to park in the shade. It gets way too hot to park in the sun all day. So I just want to give you two things to think about when you are thinking about solar generators. They're all tied together. The panels, the generator, your appliances. You have to understand your appliances first, what you want. Then you decide on the generator you want that will run your appliances, and then you decide on how many panels you need. Step by step by step. And if any of you want deeper understanding of this, I can only talk in my terms. I cannot talk technical. And when I am in Blue Eddy community, I've made friends with some of the technical people. One of them in particular speaks my language. I just said, look, you guys, I you know, I started looking at generators and learning about solar 3 or 4 years ago because we were having blackouts in California, and I was in a blackout, no air conditioning, in the middle of the 100-degree weather, in a house with no air conditioning, and my food, having to throw it away because everything stopped working. You had to go outside to breathe. So I started researching this, and honestly, after 4 years of studying it, and I know this much, this much. Technical, I don't understand. You know, I know the complications. They give you all these, figure it out this way, figure it out that way. Okay, whatever. But I learned it in my language. So I just want to do a short video to have you start thinking. If you're thinking about moving in a van and you're thinking you want appliances in your van, you have to decide how you're going to cook. And if you're afraid of propane or butane, I'm only afraid of butane or propane inside the van. Outside the van, I will use it. Inside the van, I am absent-minded, and I noticed that I started to have to stop cooking in my house because the minute I would start cooking something on the stove, for some reason I had a reason to go outside. All my neighbors, are usually outside, or half of them. Everybody starts talking to me. We all know each other, and it was just. And then I burned up so many pots. You have no idea. So I decided I was a little too dangerous, um, to be cooking anymore. In the van, I'm not as distracted, but I'm still afraid that I'll get distracted and start doing something and burn up my van. So propane and butane. I have a butane stove. I can use it, and I will use it outside if I'm ever out in the country with the bugs and the rats and all those snakes and things. But otherwise, I can't use it. It's just too dangerous for me. So I hope it's just a short discussion. Thank you for watching, and you guys are just you good luck. You good luck subscribers. That's all I can say. You're just such good luck to me. I want to give you as much information as I can. Thank you. And don't forget to hit that little thumbs up button. I think that helps me. Thank you.